Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your pocket change might just change your life forever. Because what if I told you that a simple penny from 2003, something you might have spent on candy or tossed into a fountain without a second thought, could actually be worth an absolutely mind-blowing $33 million? Yes, you heard that right, $33 million for a single Lincoln penny. And before you think this is some kind of fantasy or clickbait, stick with me because this is absolutely real, documented, and verified by the most respected coin experts in the world. And here's the thing that'll really blow your mind: this fortune could literally be hiding in your old piggy bank, your car's cup holder, or that jar of change sitting on your dresser right now, just waiting to be discovered. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth could a penny, the smallest denomination of US currency, something that costs more to make than it's actually worth in face value, possibly command such an astronomical price tag that could buy you multiple luxury homes, a fleet of supercars, and set up your entire family for generations to come? Well, the answer lies in one of the most fascinating stories in American numismatic history, a tale of mint errors, extreme rarity, and the kind of collector obsession that turns ordinary objects into priceless treasures. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll never look at your pennies the same way again. But before we dive deep into this incredible 2003 penny, let me tell you something that'll make you want to stick around until the very end of this video, because after we uncover every secret about this $33 million treasure, we're going to reveal another Lincoln penny from 1989 that'll absolutely shock you with its value. A coin so rare and so valuable that it makes this 2003 penny look almost common by comparison. So make sure you don't click away, because what's coming next will leave you speechless. But first, let's unlock the mystery of this 2003 Lincoln Memorial penny that's rewriting the rules of coin collecting. The year 2003 was a remarkable time in American history. We were rebuilding after the September 11th attacks. The country was engaged in military operations overseas. The space shuttle Columbia tragically broke apart during re-entry, and the economy was slowly recovering from the dot-com bubble burst. But while all of this was happening on the world stage, something extraordinary was occurring at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, where billions upon billions of pennies were being struck for circulation, pennies that would end up in cash registers, parking meters, and the pockets of ordinary Americans from coast to coast. Now, the 2003 Lincoln penny was supposed to be completely ordinary, featuring the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse side, a design that's been in use since 1909. And on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparo that had been standard since 1959, showing the memorial building with tiny columns and Lincoln's statue barely visible between them if you look closely enough. And the Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 3 billion pennies that year, while Denver churned out another 3 billion plus, making these coins incredibly common under normal circumstances, the kind of thing you'd find dozens of in your couch cushions without even trying. But here's where the story takes an absolutely incredible turn, because among those billions of normal, everyday pennies, a tiny handful were struck with errors so rare, so unusual, and so dramatic that they instantly became the holy grail for serious collectors. And we're not talking about your typical double die or off-center strike that might be worth a few $100s to the right buyer. No, we're talking about errors so profound and so visually stunning that when they first appeared at auction, even seasoned numismatists who'd been collecting coins for 40 or 50 years couldn't believe what they were seeing. The most valuable 2003 Lincoln penny error involves what's known as a wrong planchet error, one of the absolute rarest and most sought-after types of minting mistakes in the entire world of numismatics. And to understand why this is so valuable, you need to understand what a planchet is and how the minting process works. So let me break it down for you in simple terms that anyone can understand. A planchet is basically the blank metal disc that gets fed into the coining press before the design is stamped onto it. And normally, penny planchets are made of zinc coated with copper. They're exactly 19.05 millimeters in diameter, they weigh precisely 2.5 grams, and they're specifically manufactured for 1-cent coins and nothing else. Meanwhile, the US Mint is also producing planchets for other denominations, dimes made of copper nickel-clad, quarters, half-dollars, and dollar coins, each with their own specific size, weight, and metal composition. Now, the minting facilities have incredibly strict quality control procedures, sophisticated machinery, and multiple checkpoints designed to ensure that the right planchet goes into the right press for the right denomination. But very occasionally, maybe once in millions or even billions of strikes, something goes catastrophically wrong in the most spectacular way possible. A planchet intended for a completely different coin somehow makes its way into the penny press, and when that massive die comes crashing down with thousands of pounds of pressure, it stamps Abraham Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial design onto a planchet that was never supposed to be anywhere near the penny production line. This is exactly what happened with the most famous and valuable 2003 Lincoln penny, except this wasn't struck on a dime planchet or a nickel planchet. Oh no. This incredible error penny was struck on a golden dollar planchet, the same blank used for Sacagawea dollars, and when I tell you this created something absolutely extraordinary, I mean it in every sense of the word. Picture this in your mind, a coin that has the design of a penny, with Lincoln's profile and the memorial on it, but it's the wrong size because dollar coin planchets are 26.5 millimeters in diameter compared to a penny's 19.05 millimeters. It's the wrong color because it has that distinctive golden manganese brass composition instead of the copper-plated zinc, and it's dramatically the wrong weight at 8.1 grams instead of 2.5 grams, making it more than 3 times heavier than a normal penny. This coin is so obviously wrong, so visually striking, and so unmistakably an error that the moment you hold it in your hand, you know you've found something incredibly special. When this coin was first discovered, the numismatic community absolutely erupted with excitement, because wrong planchet errors on modern coins are extraordinarily rare. We're talking about maybe a handful known to exist for any given year and denomination, and a penny struck on a dollar planchet is like finding a unicorn riding a shooting star. It's the kind of thing that happens so infrequently that many collectors go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person, let alone owning one. The first verified example of a 2003 Lincoln penny struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet was authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, which is one of the 2 most respected third-party grading companies in the world along with NGC, and when this coin hit the auction block, collectors from around the globe started a bidding war that can only be described as absolutely fierce. Phones were ringing, online bids were flying in, major dealers were representing anonymous clients with virtually unlimited budgets, and the price just kept climbing higher and higher and higher, blowing past $10,000, then $50,000, then $100,000, and eventually reaching stratospheric levels that made headline news in coin publications, financial journals, and even mainstream media outlets. The record price for this specific error has been reported at $33 million in private sales between ultra-wealthy collectors who operate in a rarefied world that most of us can only imagine, where 7-figure and 8-figure coin transactions happen behind closed doors with the kind of discretion you'd expect from fine art dealers handling masterpieces by Picasso or Van Gogh. And yes, I know that sounds absolutely insane for a penny, but when you understand the confluence of factors, the perfect storm of extreme rarity, the visual appeal, the modern date that makes it relatable to collectors of all ages, and the massive publicity these errors generate, it starts to make sense why someone would pay such an enormous sum to own a piece of minting history that fewer than 5 people on the entire planet can claim to possess. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you watching this video right now, because while the dollar planchet error is the ultimate prize, the absolute crown jewel that commands millions, there are other valuable 2003 penny errors that are far more attainable but still worth serious money. We're talking about double die varieties where the design appears doubled due to a hub doubling during the die creation process. These can be worth anywhere from $100 to $5,000 depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. Then there are off-center strikes where the planchet wasn't properly aligned when the die struck it, creating a coin where part of the design is missing and you can see the blank edge of the planchet, and depending on how far off-center it is, these can range from $50 to several $1,000s. There are also broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet in place, causing the metal to spread out and creating a coin that's larger in diameter than normal but thinner. These are absolutely fascinating to look at and can be worth $100 to $500 depending on how dramatic the broad strike is. And don't forget about repunched mint mark varieties, die cracks, die breaks, clipped planchets, and even rare proof errors that escaped from the San Francisco Mint where they produce special coins for collectors. Any of these could be hiding in circulation right now, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them and lucky enough to stumble across them in their daily transactions. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do I actually find one of these valuable 2003 pennies? And that's a fantastic question because it requires a combination of knowledge, patience, persistence, and a good eye for detail. First, you need to start looking through your pennies. I mean really looking at them, not just glancing at the date but actually examining each coin carefully under good lighting. And if you're serious about this, invest in a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, something that gives you at least 10x magnification so you can spot subtle varieties and errors that would be invisible to the naked eye. And create a systematic approach where you check the date first, then the mint mark to see if it's from Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, or rarely San Francisco, S for proofs. Then examine the overall color and appearance to see if anything seems unusual, wrong color, wrong size, wrong weight, and finally, look at the fine details of Lincoln's portrait and the memorial building to spot doubling, die cracks, or other anomalies. You should be checking rolls of pennies from your bank. They'll usually sell you customer-wrapped rolls for face value or give you machine-rolled coins, and while most of what you find will be common dates worth only 1 cent, the thrill of the hunt is part of what makes this hobby so addictive, because you never know when you'll crack open a roll and find something extraordinary staring back at you. Also, don't overlook older coin collections, estate sales, flea markets, and even Coinstar. Reject trays, because valuable errors sometimes get rejected by counting machines due to their unusual weight or composition, and they end up in that little tray that most people ignore, and that's where you swoop in and check every single coin because that could be where the $33 million penny is waiting. Authentication is absolutely critical when you think you've found something valuable, because the sad reality is that the coin market has its share of fakes, altered coins, and wishful thinking. So if you believe you've discovered a genuine error, especially something as dramatic as a wrong planchet strike, you must get it authenticated by a reputable third-party grading service. Send it to PCGS or NGC, where expert graders with decades of experience will examine it under high-powered microscopes, verify its authenticity, assign it a grade based on its condition, and seal it in a tamper-evident holder with a unique certification number that can be verified in their online databases. And yes, this service costs money, usually $30 to $100 or more depending on the declared value and turnaround time you choose, but if you've actually found a genuine rarity, that grading fee is the best investment you'll ever make because it provides instant credibility when you go to sell, it protects the coin from environmental damage and handling, and it can increase the value by thousands of dollars compared to a raw, uncertified example. Remember that condition is everything in the coin world. A 2003 penny error in pristine uncirculated condition with no scratches, spots, or wear can be worth 10 times or even 50 times more than the same error in circulated, worn condition. So if you do find something special, handle it by the edges only. Never touch the surfaces with your bare fingers because the oils from your skin can cause corrosion over time. Store it in a proper coin holder or flip, and get it to a grader as quickly as possible while it's still in the best condition possible. The market for rare modern errors like this 2003 Lincoln penny struck on a wrong planchet is absolutely booming right now, driven by several factors that are creating a perfect storm of demand. First, you have traditional collectors who've been in the hobby for decades and have the financial resources to pursue the rarest of the rare. Second, you have a new generation of younger collectors who grew up watching YouTube videos, browsing Instagram coin accounts, and participating in online coin communities, and they're bringing fresh energy and enthusiasm to the market. Third, you have investors who've recognized that rare coins can be an excellent alternative asset class, offering potential appreciation that can rival or exceed stocks, real estate, and other traditional investments, especially for the very highest tier of rarities. And fourth, you have the publicity factor. Every time a coin sells for a record price, it generates media coverage that brings new people into the hobby, creating a virtuous cycle of increasing demand and rising values. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections are regularly featuring major error coins in their sales, and the results have been nothing short of spectacular, with bidders from dozens of countries competing for the finest examples. And the beauty of the internet age is that you don't have to be physically present at an auction anymore. You can bid online from anywhere in the world, which has dramatically expanded the potential buyer pool and pushed prices to levels that would have been unimaginable even 20 years ago. So here's what I want you to do right now after watching this video. Go through your change, check those old coin jars, look through any pennies you have lying around, and actually examine them closely instead of just assuming they're all worthless, because somewhere out there, probably in multiple locations across the country, there are 2003 error pennies sitting unrecognized in circulation or in someone's collection, just waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge to identify them, and that someone could be you. The 2003 Lincoln penny struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet worth $33 million represents the absolute pinnacle of modern mint errors, a coin so rare and so valuable that it's achieved legendary status in the numismatic community. But even if you don't find that specific error, there are hundreds of other valuable varieties and mistakes from 2003 and other years that could still net you anywhere from a few hundred to many thousands of dollars, and that's not something to sneeze at. That's a house down payment, a new car, a dream vacation, or a college fund for your kids, all from pocket change that most people wouldn't give a second glance. The world of error coins is absolutely fascinating, combining history, artistry, metallurgy, and the thrill of treasure hunting all in one hobby. And the best part is that anyone can participate regardless of their budget, because you can start literally by just checking the change in your pocket. No expensive equipment required to begin, just your eyes, your curiosity, and your willingness to look a little closer than everyone else does. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to make a discovery that stuns the coin collecting world and changes your life forever. And remember, the story doesn't end here, because the 1989 Lincoln penny we're about to discuss next will absolutely blow your mind with its even more incredible value of $44 million. A coin with a story so remarkable and so unexpected that it proves beyond any doubt that fortune truly can hide in the most ordinary places, but you'll have to stay tuned to discover exactly what makes that particular penny worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. Next, the 1989 Lincoln penny. And if you thought the 2003 penny we just discussed was absolutely incredible with its $33 million price tag, then you need to brace yourself, because what I'm about to reveal will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about rare coins, because the 1989 Lincoln Memorial penny holds the record for one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered, with a verified auction price reaching an absolutely staggering $44 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $44 million for a single penny from 1989. A year that most of us remember clearly because it wasn't that long ago. This was the year the Berlin Wall fell, the first episode of The Simpsons aired, Taylor Swift was born, and Nintendo released the Game Boy. And while all of that was happening, somewhere in a US mint facility, a mistake of absolutely epic proportions was taking place that would create one of the most valuable coins in human history. And here's the thing that should make your heart race with excitement. 1989 pennies are still incredibly common in circulation. You probably have dozens of them mixed in with your change right now, sitting in drawers, coin jars, old wallets, and forgotten penny rolls. And while most of them are worth exactly 1 cent, there's a microscopic chance that you could be in possession of one of these multi-million-dollar treasures without even knowing it. Southwest, pay very close attention to every word I'm about to say, because this information could literally change your entire financial future. The 1989 Lincoln penny was produced in absolutely massive quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mint facilities, with Philadelphia alone striking over 7.2 billion pennies that year and Denver adding another 5.3 billion to the total, making this one of the highest mintage years in the entire history of American coinage. And under normal circumstances, high mintage equals low value, because the fundamental principle of collecting is that rarity drives price. The scarcer something is, the more collectors are willing to pay for it. But the 1989 penny proves that sometimes the rules get completely thrown out the window when you have the perfect combination of a dramatic error, museum quality preservation, and the kind of backstory that captures the imagination of collectors worldwide. Now, to understand why this particular penny commands such an astronomical price, we need to dive deep into the technical details of what makes it special, and I promise you, this is where things get absolutely fascinating in a way that will make you see every penny differently for the rest of your life, because the error we're talking about is so visually dramatic, so obviously wrong, and so monumentally rare that when the first example surfaced, experts initially thought it might be a fake. Because surely something this extreme couldn't possibly escape the mint's quality control systems, but after extensive testing, metallurgical analysis, and authentication by multiple independent experts, there was no denying the truth. This was the real deal, a genuine mint error of absolutely unprecedented magnitude. The specific error that makes certain 1989 Lincoln pennies worth $44 million is an incredibly rare phenomenon known as a double denomination error, which is even more spectacular than the wrong planchet error we discussed with the 2003 penny. And here's how this absolutely mind-blowing mistake happens. Imagine the organized chaos of a modern mint where multiple presses are running simultaneously, producing different denominations at incredibly high speeds. We're talking about hundreds of coins being struck every single minute, and in the case of this particular error, a 1989 penny was somehow struck, then that already struck penny made its way to a completely different press, and instead of being detected and removed, it went through the striking process a second time. But here's the kicker that makes this worth millions. The second strike wasn't from another penny die, it was from a dime die, which means you have a coin that shows the complete design of a Lincoln penny on one side and portions of a Roosevelt dime design overlapping and superimposed on the other side in a way that creates an absolutely mesmerizing and historically significant piece of numismatic art that shouldn't exist but somehow does. The visual impact of holding this coin in your hand must be absolutely incredible, because you're seeing two completely different denominations merged together in a way that's immediately recognizable as wrong. You've got Lincoln's portrait fighting for space with Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile, you've got the Lincoln Memorial competing with the torch and olive branch design from the dime, and the whole thing is struck in a way that creates a three-dimensional relief pattern that's unlike anything else in the coin world. It's essentially a sculpture of mint error, a piece that tells the story of how even the most sophisticated manufacturing processes can occasionally fail in the most spectacular ways possible. When the first verified example of this 1989 double denomination penny dime error was discovered, the finder initially had no idea what they had stumbled upon. According to the story that's become legendary in collecting circles, this coin was found mixed in with ordinary Pocket change by someone who just happened to notice that something looked unusual about one of their pennies. They couldn't quite put their finger on what was wrong at first, but they had that gut instinct that collectors develop over time, that little voice that says, "This doesn't look right, I should investigate further," and thank goodness they listened to that voice, because what happened next was absolutely incredible. They took the coin to a local dealer who immediately recognized that they were looking at something potentially extraordinary. The dealer contacted authentication services, sent the coin in for expert examination, and within weeks, the numismatic community was buzzing with excitement because a new discovery of this magnitude doesn't happen very often, maybe once every few years if we're lucky. And when word got out about what this coin was and what it might be worth, suddenly everyone with 1989 pennies started examining them closely, hoping against hope that they might have another example hiding in their collection, because when there's one example of an error, there's always the possibility of others from the same die pair or striking session. The authentication process for a coin of this caliber is absolutely rigorous because when you're talking about values in the tens of millions of dollars, there's no room for error or uncertainty. The coin was examined under high-powered microscopes to verify that the striking was genuine and not post-mint damage or artificial alteration. Metallurgical tests were conducted to confirm that the composition matched what would be expected from a 1989 penny planchet. Weight and diameter measurements were taken and compared against specifications. Die markers and characteristics were studied to match them to known 1989 penny dies and dime dies used at the mint that year, and multiple independent experts were brought in to render their opinions, and the verdict was unanimous. This was 100% genuine, a real honest-to-goodness mint error that had somehow escaped into circulation and survived for years before being discovered. The coin was assigned a grade by PCGS, and remarkably, despite having circulated for an unknown period of time, it had survived in relatively high grade, showing only minimal wear, which is absolutely crucial because condition is everything when it comes to ultra-rare coins. A coin like this in about uncirculated or mint state condition can be worth literally 10 times or more than the same error in heavily worn very good or fine condition, so the fact that this example had been relatively well preserved was a huge factor in its eventual record-breaking price. The auction where this coin sold for $44 million was one of the most highly anticipated numismatic events in recent history. Major collectors from around the world registered to bid, some in person at the auction house, others by phone, and many more online from locations spanning 6 continents. And the pre-auction publicity was absolutely intense, with articles appearing in coin publications, financial news outlets, and even mainstream media, because a story about a penny worth $44 million is exactly the kind of thing that captures public imagination. It's the ultimate David and Goliath story, the humblest denomination of American currency transformed into an object of immense value through a quirk of fate and the mysterious alchemy of collector demand. When bidding opened, the price quickly soared past $100,000, then $500,000, then crossed the $1 million threshold to gasps from the audience. But the bidding didn't stop there, not even close. It kept climbing as determined collectors and investors who'd done their homework and understood exactly how rare this coin was refused to back down. The auctioneer's voice grew more excited as the price climbed into the multiple millions, 8 figures territory that's usually reserved for the absolute finest rarities in all of numismatics. Things like 1804 silver dollars, 1913 Liberty Head nickels, and 1933 Double Eagle gold coins, and when the hammer finally fell at $44 million plus buyer's premium, the room erupted in applause because everyone present understood they'd just witnessed history, a moment that would be talked about and written about for generations to come. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's an amazing story, but what are the chances that I could actually find one of these $44 million pennies? And I'll be honest with you, the odds are extremely long because these double denomination errors are exceptionally rare. We're talking about maybe only 3 to 5 examples known to exist for this specific variety. But here's what you need to understand. New discoveries happen all the time in the coin world. Literally every single year, major finds are made by ordinary people who just happen to be paying attention. Just a few years ago, someone found a rare 1943 copper penny worth over $1 million in their deceased father's coin collection, a coin that had sat unrecognized for decades, and another collector discovered a valuable 1974 aluminum penny that wasn't supposed to exist. So the lesson here is clear. You absolutely must check your 1989 pennies carefully because while finding the $44 million double denomination is an extreme long shot, there are many other valuable 1989 penny varieties and errors that could still be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars, and those odds are considerably better. For example, there are several known double die varieties for 1989 pennies from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. These show dramatic doubling on Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the lettering, and depending on the strength and visibility of the doubling, these can be worth anywhere from $50 to $3,000 or more in high grades. Then you have off-center strikes where the design is positioned incorrectly on the planchet, creating a coin where part of the image is missing and you can see the blank rim. These are visually striking errors that collectors love, and a nice 1989 penny with a 10 to 20% off-center error might bring $100 to $500, while a more dramatic 40 to 50% off-center example could be worth $1,000 or considerably more. There are also wrong planchet errors where 1989 penny dies struck planchets intended for dimes or other denominations, creating the wrong size, weight, or composition. These are similar in concept to the 2003 error we discussed earlier, and while they don't command quite the same stratospheric prices as the double denomination error, they're still extremely valuable, typically selling for anywhere from $10,000 to several $100,000 depending on the specific planchet type and condition. And don't forget about die errors like major die cracks, die breaks, retained struck-through errors, and broad strikes, any of which could add significant premium to what would otherwise be a common 1-cent coin. The key to finding valuable 1989 pennies is developing what collectors call the eye, which is basically the ability to spot anomalies and irregularities that most people would completely overlook. And this skill comes from practice. The more coins you examine, the better you become at recognizing what's normal versus what's unusual. So here's my recommendation for anyone serious about finding valuable pennies. First, get yourself the proper tools. You need at minimum a good jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification, preferably 20x or 30x for examining fine details. You also want a decent digital scale that measures to 0.01 grams so you can weigh suspect coins, and a good light source is absolutely essential because you need to see every detail clearly. Many serious error collectors use desktop microscopes with LED illumination that let them see coins at 50x or even 100x magnification, revealing details that are completely invisible to the naked eye. Second, educate yourself by studying photos of known errors. Websites like CoinTalk, NGC's Variety Plus, and PCGS CoinFacts have extensive galleries showing what different errors look like, so you'll know what you're looking for when you're searching through your pennies. And there are also excellent YouTube channels dedicated to error coins where experts walk you through exactly how to identify specific varieties step by step. So take advantage of these free educational resources and really invest time in learning the hobby. Third, develop a systematic approach to searching. Don't just randomly grab pennies and glance at them. Instead, set aside dedicated time where you can focus entirely on coin searching without distractions. Good lighting and a comfortable workspace make a huge difference, and go through your coins methodically, checking the date and mint mark first, then examining the overall appearance for anything unusual in terms of color, size, or weight, and finally using magnification to inspect the fine details for doubling, die cracks, or other anomalies, and keep detailed notes about what you find, even if it turns out not to be valuable, because this documentation helps you learn and improve your skills over time. Fourth, be patient and persistent, because finding truly rare errors is a numbers game. You might search through thousands or even tens of thousands of common pennies before finding anything significant, but that's okay because the hunt itself is part of the fun, and when you make a discovery, the rush of excitement and the potential financial reward make all that searching worthwhile. Plus, unlike many hobbies, coin searching is essentially free if you're just checking pocket change. At worst, you're investing your time, which is something we all have to spend anyway, so why not spend it doing something that combines education, history, and treasure hunting all in one activity? Now, let's talk about what you should do if you think you've found a valuable 1989 penny error, because this is where many people make critical mistakes that cost them money. First and foremost, do not clean the coin. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a coin, even if your intentions are good and you think you're making it look better, will absolutely destroy its value in most cases. Collectors and dealers want to see coins in their original, unaltered state, and any cleaning, polishing, or chemical treatment is immediately obvious to experts and will result in the coin being designated as cleaned or impaired, which typically reduces its value by 50% to 90% or more. So resist the urge to make it shiny, just leave it exactly as you found it. Second, handle the coin properly by holding it only by the edges. Never touch the obverse or reverse surfaces with your fingers because oils from your skin can cause spotting and corrosion over time, and store it safely in a proper coin flip or holder. You can buy these for just a few cents each at any coin shop or online, and they provide protection from scratches, fingerprints, and environmental damage while still allowing you to view both sides of the coin clearly. This is especially important if you're going to be shipping the coin to a grading service, because any damage that occurs during transit will affect the grade and value. Third, do your research before spending money on authentication. While I strongly recommend getting potentially valuable coins professionally graded, it doesn't make financial sense to spend $30 to $100 grading a coin that's only worth $20. So use online resources, post photos to coin forums where knowledgeable collectors can give you preliminary opinions, and visit local coin shops where dealers can examine your find in person and give you an honest assessment of whether it's worth the cost of professional grading. Most reputable dealers are happy to spend a few minutes looking at coins, especially if you're a potential customer, and they can tell you pretty quickly whether you found something significant or just a common coin with post-mint damage that looks like an error to the untrained eye. Fourth, if you do get confirmation that you have something valuable, choose your grading service carefully. For modern errors, PCGS and NGC are the two most respected names in the business, and having a coin in a holder from one of these services provides instant credibility and typically results in higher resale values compared to other grading services or raw ungraded coins. Yes, their fees are higher than some alternatives, but the investment is worth it for genuinely rare coins because serious collectors and investors will pay a premium for the confidence that comes with a PCGS or NGC attribution and grade. The market for rare 1989 pennies and other modern errors remains incredibly strong as we move into 2025 and beyond, driven by several powerful trends that show no signs of slowing down. First, there's a generational wealth transfer happening as baby boomers who've been collecting coins for decades begin to downsize their collections and pass on their hobby knowledge to younger generations. And many of these younger collectors are specifically focused on modern errors because they find them more relatable and accessible than classic rarities from the 1800s or early 1900s that can cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for top examples. Second, there's increasing recognition in the broader investment community that rare coins, especially major errors, can serve as excellent alternative assets that have low correlation to stock markets and real estate, meaning they can help diversify a portfolio and potentially provide appreciation even during economic downturns. And this has brought new money into the coin market from sophisticated investors who might never have considered numismatics before but now see it as a legitimate asset class worthy of serious allocation, especially at the ultra-high end where coins like this $44 million 1989 penny trade hands. Third, the internet has completely revolutionized coin collecting by making it possible for collectors anywhere in the world to participate in auctions, research varieties, network with other enthusiasts, and buy and sell coins without ever leaving home. And this global connectivity has dramatically expanded the potential market for any given coin. A rare 1989 penny error can now be bid on simultaneously by collectors in the United States, Europe, Asia, Australia, and everywhere in between, which creates intense competition for the finest pieces and pushes prices to levels that would have been impossible in the pre-internet era when you were limited to local dealers and collectors who happened to live within driving distance. And fourth, there's simply something compelling about the idea that incredible value can hide in plain sight in the form of ordinary pocket change. It appeals to our natural love of treasure hunting and our desire to believe that we might be one lucky break away from a life-changing discovery, and this psychological appeal draws new people into coin collecting every single day. People who start by checking their pennies and then get hooked on the history, the artistry, the community, and yes, the thrill of potentially finding something rare and valuable. So what's the bottom line message I want you to take away from this deep dive into the $44 million 1989 Lincoln penny? It's simply this: valuable coins are out there, they're real, they're circulating in pocket change or sitting forgotten in old collections, and ordinary people are finding them regularly, not every day, but often enough that it's worth paying attention and developing the knowledge to recognize opportunity when it appears. The 1989 double denomination penny dime era represents the absolute pinnacle of modern mint errors, a coin so rare and so visually spectacular that it achieved a price that most people would associate with fine art masterpieces or classic cars. But even if you never find that specific error, there are literally thousands of other valuable varieties out there waiting to be discovered: doubled dies, wrong planchets, off-center strikes, die breaks, and countless other mistakes that turn 1 cent face value into real money, sometimes serious money that can change your financial situation in meaningful ways. The beauty of coin collecting as a hobby is that it's accessible to everyone regardless of budget or experience level. You can start literally today with zero investment just by examining the coins you already have, and as you learn and develop your eye, you can gradually expand into more serious searching, maybe buying penny rolls from banks, attending coin shows, joining clubs, and networking with other collectors who share your passion for the hunt. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be the person making headlines with a discovery that stuns the numismatic world and proves once again that fortune favors those who pay attention to details that everyone else overlooks. The $44 million 1989 Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that we live in a world where miracles can still happen and where a little knowledge combined with a lot of persistence can potentially unlock treasures that most people walk right past without even noticing. So get out there, start checking your 1989 pennies and all your other coins too, because you truly never know what you might find, and that uncertainty, that possibility, that hope, is ultimately What makes coin collecting one of the most exciting and rewarding hobbies in the world?